Welcome to The Route to Revenue, two entrepreneurs sharing the path to curbside cash flow. I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. We're both founders of two successful recurring revenue businesses in the home services industry, and we've built our companies from startup to profitable and scalable operations.
This is the show for entrepreneurs serious about building sustainable home service businesses. Whether you're starting out, scaling up, or ready to move beyond trading time for money, we share proven strategies for creating predictable monthly revenue streams.
And while our expertise comes from the bin cleaning industry, the systems and principles we discuss work for any recurring revenue home service. Think lawn care, pest control, pool maintenance, and beyond.
Each episode, we break down real-world strategies for customer acquisition, retention, operational efficiency, and building systems that generate consistent income while you step back from daily operations.
Are you ready to transform your home service businesses from a demanding job into a profitable asset? This is the route to revenue.
So, Mike, why is it so common that people undercharge in the home service industry?
Yeah, I think there's a whole psychology behind it, to be honest with you. It seems like a lot of people go into their charging, figuring out the price either out of fear, I'm too afraid I'm not going to get customers, or that the customers I have, they're going to leave me right away, or guilt. I shouldn't be making that much money. I think that's a rare one. Boy, I'd love to get to that point where it's like, oh, I'm making too much, but I'll still raise it. But apparently, there could be an option there. And then mostly, I think it's the imposter syndrome, where people are just going, what is everybody else around me charging? We see it on the forums all the time. What do you guys charge for monthly this, or what do you charge for quarterly that? Any question like that's kind of irrelevant because they don't have the same costs that you have. And so you might be in a grandiose, beautiful truck. They might be working out of the back of a Kia Soul. And, those two options aren't the same. One of the things that I did when I was early on is I said, I'm going to price it as if, when I was the only driver, as if I have people in the truck. I didn't want it to be priced so that I could, just cover what I needed to cover. I wanted to price it high enough that when a driver got put in there, I wasn't going to have to raise them right away. That, this is the business and I'm going to run it accordingly.
If we go back to our episode on Profit First, that's the principle, right? Is that you should be paying yourself as a driver anyway, and the business should be able to sustain that. That's one of the principles of Profit First. So
right.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
100%. And that was, at that point, I don't think I had found that book, but I knew all along that, I have no intention of driving this thing from when I was 48 until I'm, 68. So I knew all along that I had to go ahead and do that. Did I go out there and calculate it based on the true cost per stop and fuel and labor and equipment overhead? No, I didn't do that. I did kind of take an idea of what others were doing. I do know that when I bought the truck, the person we bought the truck, or I bought the truck from, was touting, a number that I just didn't feel comfortable with. It was too low for me in my area. And I think there's also that, if you're in a grid situation or you have a lot of competition, you probably do have to take into effect a little bit what everybody else is charging. But I had my topography of our area is not, northwest and east, north, south, all these different streets that are right there. So I knew I was going to be driving a little bit to get to each stop. So,
well, and here's the other thing that I'll say on that subject is, it's one thing. So my thing, I believe that I either want to be the lowest price in the area or the highest price in the area. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in the middle. That middle ground, I think, is the dangerous, especially if you're at the lower end of that. You either need to be the lowest price and just
grind it out,
just tons and tons of customers, and it's just a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Or you need to provide the quality that brings the value for a high price and be able to justify and have customers that see the value.
And I liken it to the Walmart version and the Neiman Marcus version. Those two do not compete together. Sure, they have customers and they have money and all that stuff that they need to spend, But if you're going to Walmart, you're not also going to Neiman Marcus. And I think you get a whole
Right.
different experience between those two places. I know you do. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not a Neiman Marcus, but I've been there and they're pretty cool, right? So, but I think when
Right.
you do charge that type of money, you can give the services that those folks deserve and expect. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah. So how do you figure out your cost? I mean, we're talking about this, we're throwing it out. Let's give some actual,
yeah.
here's how you figure it out.
Well, you have to figure out everything you're going to spend, right? I happen to be in a warehouse right now where I store my trucks. I have two warehouses that are side by side. When I first started, I had one. That's a cost, right? So it's around $1,800 per unit. So there's a cost there. I have a payment on the truck. I've got fuel. I've got the shirts I'm wearing. I've got chemicals. I've got insurance. Oh, do I have insurance? All of
Yeah.
those things are just painful. But again, you have to figure that all out. And then one would say you have to throw in profit, right? You've got to have profit in there. And then you have, an oops fund, that kind of thing. And it's difficult. It's difficult to figure out. You've got fixed costs. The note's going to be due every second of the month. The insurance is going to be due once a
Yep.
year. A lot of those are fixed. They're pretty easy to figure out, but the variable costs seem to be the hardest. As you gain customers and as you're driving around, fuel goes up and certain things go up. How do you navigate that with your pricing, Ben?
Well, it's a little different today than what it used to be. We have enough stops and enough scale today that we take a monthly number and basically it's our monthly fixed costs. We add in our variable costs. And I'll tell you some of the things that, when I was starting out, I used to know exactly what my insurance cost me per day. And that's working days. And I knew, I would fill up the truck and the trailer every day after the route so that I had those costs so that I could see what am I paying to do this route. And so if I take my monthly fixed costs, I add in my variable costs per day, then I know what that route cost me that day and I can divide by the number of stops on that route. And that gives me my cost per stop. And then from there, I can decide how much profit I want to make, which, I think more is better than less.
I would agree. I would
You know,
agree.
and, but also, I mean, there's a point where I don't, I mean, there's a point where it, you've got to go, okay, that's just ridiculous.
Have you gotten to
But
that point yet, Ben, or no?
no, I haven't. I'd
I
like
can't wait to
to.
get to that profit amount's ridiculous. I haven't gotten there
Yeah,
yet.
I'd love to get to that point where I go, man, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but anyway, once you have that, once you know what the cost is to do a stop, then you can figure out. And truly, I used to have the numbers of daily so that I knew what each route was worth to me
Yeah.
and whether I was making money or whether I was investing is what I used to call it.
And let's face it,
And
there are days you're going to win and there's days you're going to lose. The Buffalo Bills
especially
don't
when
win
you're
every
starting out.
they don't win every game, and sometimes you take one on the chin and other times you dominate. And that's what I have a driver that he would be like, man, you were paying me to look out the windshield today. Look at the beautiful day. And I said, oh, that is true. Because there may be pockets of
Right.
5 or 6 stops, and then you drive 15 minutes, and then another pocket of, 1 or 2, and then whatever. And I said, but you know what? There are other days that you're taking a lick and, you're getting beat up because there's 45
Yeah.
stops in one neighborhood and you do them in 4 hours or 5 hours. And I made up for the day where I paid you to drive around a little bit. So
Well, and yeah, and I've always looked at that. I mean, when I first started, I did exactly what everyone tells you not to do. I started with a huge service area and so there were days where I would drive. I'm embarrassed to say how long I would drive between stops some days. And even today, my CFO on occasion will say, Ben, we need to look at routes and see which ones are profitable and which ones aren't. And I'm like, you know what, at this point, as long as I've got the overall pricing done properly, I don't care. To me, it's an investment. If I have a route, and I will say that, we've still got a couple that are lagging. I mean, I think this Friday we've got like 45 or 50 stops. And, it's just the way that it worked out. It's that one day a quarter that happens. When that happens, it's not like I'm going to go and do away with those customers. They're still in our service area. They still need to be serviced. And I view it as an investment. As
Well,
a
and
matter of fact, what
do
I'm
you give
going
your
to do is
guys an
spend
opportunity?
marketing money.
Do you give your guys an opportunity then, hey, one of you guys don't have to work that Friday? Who wants it off type of deal? Or,
Exactly what we do.
okay.
Yeah,
And some will take it and
exactly what
some
we do.
don't.
So
Just
we've
kind of
got,
like what you do with overtime, I imagine.
I mean, I've got two guys that, I mean, one of them has said, I will take any Friday that you want to give me off. I will take it.
Okay.
And the other one has said, anytime you don't need me at work, I'm happy.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what that says, but
Well, but he's been with us for a while,
he's
so
all right.
it's obvious that
Yeah.
it's not too bad, and he's willing to show up, and he works hard when he's here. But he's like, I'm okay with having time off to spend with my family.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah,
As far
it
as
works.
raising rates on existing customers, what do you have a script, a strategy? I know you mentioned you visit pricing in October and then you potentially increase in April for your existing. How are you handling that? Do you have the same script? Do you go in there and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, the gas was expensive and we just bombed Iran and blah 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 blah."
No, I'll tell you. Okay, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, Mike. That's your fair
That's
warning.
fair. I
I
may do that periodically.
the I hate when a business tries to put their costs off. I just want a price.
Mhm.
Tell me what it costs for my meal or the service you're providing or whatever it
Mhm.
is. Don't tell me, oh, this is my cost, and then I'm going to charge you 3% because you're paying with a
Hate
credit card.
that. Hate that.
It drives me up a
Yeah.
wall. That is part of the cost of doing business. Just put it into your price. Don't charge me another
And it just
3%.
cheapens everything, I feel.
It does.
I mean, if you don't
It
have enough
does.
to cover that, I mean, when I go into racetrack, the gas station here, and I don't know, I buy a soda for $1, they don't say, "Oh, you got to hit this number to do it." I mean, some will, right? $5 minimum or whatever. But I can't stand it. Can't stand it. So I'm
Yeah.
with you.
So that's my pet peeve with that. And I think that we can do a lot of things. I know at one point gas prices were expensive, and the big thing in the Facebook groups that we're in was, oh, charge a what are
A
they
surcharge, a fuel
a
surcharge.
surcharge for a fuel surcharge. And I'm so against that, it's not even funny. I just talk about cheapening your service, nickel and diming
Well,
people.
and I
Stop.
can see where they're
Just put a
saying it,
price out
but
there.
here's the deal. I can see where they're saying it, but once I get it, I don't want to give it back. So I didn't, when I do my
Give
letter,
it back.
none of it cites costs. Because then when they say,
No.
well, wait a minute, it was 375 a gallon when you did this, I understood, but now it's 282. So I should be getting back X. And I have no, I mean, at the end of the day, that's just the cost of the service, or that's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And
I,
yeah, I'm with you.
I'm very plain. It's very plain. It's very straightforward. It's very simple. And then if people want to call, and we do every time we do a price increase on existing customers to bring them up to what we're charging new customers, we get a few phone calls. And that's when I say, hey, look, you know what? I want to be able to provide insurance for my drivers. I want to be able to provide whatever. We provide a great service. My costs have gone up. I'm in business to make a profit. I need to pass that
Hmm.
on. And I make no apologies for
Right.
it. And I think that that's important for people to know and
And I know
understand.
with my last price increase, again, it's been a couple years, but I had 6 calls or six. Okay, I sent out the email. I had 6 people that dropped, that canceled.
Right.
Okay, so that happened.
Right.
And then I had, I think 16 or 20 people were saying, "Oh, that, so happy for your success." Because I did say, we are growing and we're expanding and we're this or that or the other thing. I kind of did the,
Was that
the sandwich method, right? Start with something, put
wa-
the kind of bad stuff in the middle, if you will, and end with the, with the
wa-
bun.
was that the one where you sent the picture of the new truck in the
That was a different time, but yeah. So for those that don't know, I sent out "We're Expecting," and it was basically an ultrasound picture of a doctor clearly. This is all before AI. I might point out. I had somebody paid to
yeah.
do that. I paid to do that, but and in there it had a picture of a spiffy truck, and it said "We're Expecting," and it was pretty cute. But yeah, so we lost 6 people or 6 clients or what have you, but at the end of the day, the offset is more than pays off, and
And and that was out of what, 2,500 or
it
3,000 or
wasn't that
something?
many, but yeah, it was in the low twos for sure. So it was
So
fine, completely fine.
yeah, I mean,
And it's not, and now did all that money go right into my pocket? No, no, it didn't. Obviously you've got the other things and the expansions and different things like that we went into, but it does make things nicer and easier and and it puts you back to where it's kind of an adjustment period, I point out. So, um,
yeah.
but
So,
go ahead.
well, I was just gonna ask, so do you, when you're looking at the pricing, do you take into account the packages that you offer?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Um, I I am our most profitable service is our quarterly program. I guess one would say our annual or one time, but I don't really call it. I don't really. That's just quote unquote gravy in my book. I don't really count on it to do any numbers or any making of anything or anything like that. I mean, it goes into the number, right? But at the end of the day, but our most profitable recurring is the quarterly. And I remember back when I was at the lower pricing, I was making 75% more revenue from that stop than I was from the monthly. And it didn't really materially cost me much more time or water or anything for that matter. It didn't raise the revenue for the whole year that much, but per stop basis. And I looked at that and said, well, that's an important number to know. And it allowed me to realize that, well, if I can fill my route with all quarterlies, I'm going to be in a really good space because I don't have to buy a truck as often. If I go there monthly, I got to go there 12 times. If I go there every quarter, I only have to go there 4 times a year. And so I can have, 4 times or 3 times the customers. I can have, 75% more profit while I'm doing it. It's a fantastic situation. So I did it that way, and I'm now leaning towards, and I know you did this last time. I'm leaning towards maybe not raising. I raised everything last time $5 across the board for the monthly. I'm leaning towards doing that a little bit less with the quarterlies because I'm now already at 45. I don't know that I need to go to 50. Right. I'm a little that's a number where you had talked about it before where it's, the psychology and the fear gets in there. I do have a little bit of fear, a little bit of guilt going over $50 a quarter. That's just me. Maybe I'll get past that soon, but right now that's where I'll be. But I think I do need to bring in line a little bit more the stops where I go there every month because that does take a lot of resources and it's just not if I can replace those stops periodically or change them over to a quarterly basis, I feel like that would be a win in some respects.
Well, and this is an area where you and I understand the concept, and I don't know that I disagree with what you're saying,
Hmm.
but I think that it's a matter of what you optimize for. And so, as you know, for years, when you and I would talk, I would agree with everything that you just said. And recently I've gone, okay, but that monthly customer is worth more in the lifetime of the client. And so I pay the same amount for that client, so I might as well get as much money as I possibly can from them.
Hmm.
And I do believe that I save, I mean, even in my routing, I figure a minute less for a monthly customer than I do for a quarterly customer
Hmm.
every time we go there. And so I think if you're looking, it depends on what you're, like you said, you're optimizing to be able to have your trucks, each truck as profitable as possible.
Hmm.
I am now, and I used to be optimizing for that. Now I'm at a point where I'm okay that the trucks are all over. I'm okay that they're through our entire service area during the summer, and we're going to be there anyway. So why not pick up the money? And so for me now, it's about moving the total revenue number up, which also will move my total profit number up.
Right.
And although if I had all quarterlies, I would have a higher profit margin. I don't think it's significant
But I
enough to
think
make
you've
up for that.
also, I think you've also increased your monthly pretty significantly, though.
I
So
I
I
did
think
a little while
you're
ago.
kind of, I don't want to say talking out of both sides of your mouth, but in some respects, you're getting a price that's much closer to your quarterly price every month, and that seems like a pretty good. That's a pretty good exchange,
We're
you know.
we're a we're $13 difference.
Yeah. Where,
So 35 for monthly for the first two cans and 48 for quarterly for the first two cans.
yeah. Okay. Okay. What
And
was your monthly
so
again? I'm sorry.
our monthly is 35 for the first
Yeah,
two.
see, I think that's where our difference is. I'm at 29 in the fall after that
Yeah.
price increase. And that's with a price increase. So I think that's what I'm talking about. I think I've gotten to the point where I need to do what you've done and just bump that a little bit closer to um to that quarterly price. Because then if you go there every month, you don't mind. It's a few dollars less. That's fine. Because you are going there 12 times instead of 4 times. So
Actually, we go 13 because we're on the
oh,
4 week
true, true, true,
rotation.
true. Yeah.
So, but I'm tickled with it. I'll take all the monthly customers I can get.
Mm.
Whereas at and I think part of that is actually the season of the business as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're first starting out, you do need to figure out how to maximize the equipment, and every bit of it makes a difference.
Right.
Now I'm at a point where it's how do I maximize my profit?
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to buy another truck because I have too many monthly customers, well, that's a good problem to
That's
have.
fair. That's fair. Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
So, yeah. Okay.
How about
Um,
your process? As far as rate increases, right? Letting them know that the increase is coming. I mean, we touched a little bit on that. You give them, what are you giving them? 2 months, a month, 5 days?
I give them a 30-day notice. So our monthly customers, because we're on the 4 week rotation, like I just talked about, um, they'll get an email. They'll get clean 2 days after that email at the old pricing, and then they'll be at the new pricing.
Okay. All right.
Quarterly customers, I just send it out
Wherever
and
it
I
happens to
wait 30
fall, it
days, and
happens
then
to fall.
wherever it falls, it falls.
Yep, that's fair.
How
Excellent.
about you?
Similar. Yeah, similar. I'll send out, August 1st will be the date. And then that date is just for everybody. And
Yeah.
we can go go into that day and make the changes. Cause I'll be honest, and you probably recognize as well. It's not an easy, quick fix. At least I haven't figured it out to be. I got to go into each individual, somebody's got to go into each individual person and change the plan and do all that kind of stuff. So, is that what you're finding as well? That they,
That is one of the limitations of the software that we use.
yep.
I know that there are software programs out there that have made that easier, which hallelujah.
Yeah.
Um, but that is one of the limitations. But I mean, we just do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so we just, we have someone go in and do that. And it's, I mean, again, it's an hour a day for 3 months
Right.
until everybody's done.
Right. 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 Yep.
So
And if the
it's one of those.
and I'll do the pricing in a way that you look at it and you know that it's been done too.
Right.
Because if you're too much like another price, then it gets harder to see that was that wasn't changed or what have you. So, and there's some that
Right.
I miss,
Yep.
and then we'll hit them a month or two later, and you go, oh crap, I missed it, but that's fine too. That happens. So
It happens. It happens. So, okay. So let's give some closing. Is it okay if I go ahead and give some suggestions
yeah,
for
100%.
what people should do to take action on
Yeah,
this?
go right ahead.
Okay. So the first thing is I think that you should pull up your current pricing, take a look at it, and calculate what your actual cost is per stop. And we've been talking a lot about can cleaning today, but this is the same whether you're cutting lawns or cleaning pools. What's the cost per stop? And calculate that. And then if there's less than a 40% margin left over after your current pricing versus your cost, then I think that you have a pricing problem and I think that you need to raise your prices. Would you agree with that,
Yeah,
Mike?
100%. 100%. We're
And
not in the
so if you
business
have,
to give it away.
yep. So if you have that problem, raise your rates. If you want to do the model that Mike and I do, raise it on incoming customers, and then raise it later on existing customers to raise them up to what the new ones are paying. But if you're less than 40%, I would say, certainly if you're around, a gross margin of 20 or 30,
15.
really 20%,
Yeah.
then I think it's an emergency. Just raise everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Just get it done.
Well, and I think a lot will
Because
depend on when they're listening to this episode, right? I mean, we're filming this on March 5th. It'll come out later this month, and in my opinion, anybody doing service businesses now would be the time to do it for sure. If you're listening to this in December of this year, maybe you wait a few months, but agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you eat that.
I think you said
that
it
low
perfect.
margin for a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Mike.
I appreciate your time again. Thank you so much. And please, if you enjoyed this episode, take a moment to like and subscribe, and we would really appreciate you referring it to your friends. We're all in business, and we know that referrals are huge, and we hope you enjoyed the 30 minutes or however long this episode went, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Take care. Well, Ben, that's a wrap on another episode of The Route to Revenue. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would hit like, subscribe, and leave us old guys a comment about what we did well. And if we did anything wrong, can it and keep it to yourself.
If today's strategy sparked some ideas for your business, don't keep them to yourself. Share this episode with a fellow entrepreneur who could benefit from these insights.
Remember, building a recurring revenue business, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Take one actionable step from today's discussion and implement it in your business this week.
Want to connect with us between episodes? Find us on Facebook or at our website. We'd love to hear how you're applying these concepts in your own home service business.
And until next time, keep building those recurring revenue streams and stay on the route to revenue.
The route to revenue.
Nice, Ben.